Hey everybody, this is Deez Sports Nutz. I'm the coach here with the collector. I'm really excited to get back with you again for our second episode, and we'll be talking about some different things. I mean, it's NFL playoffs right now, and it's all anybody can talk about. Crazy weekend of playoffs, maybe the best ever, as said by a lot of people. Lots of stuff to unpack here, but we just want to let you know that we'll be coming at various things about sports, a little bit of collecting because that's what we do, and a little bit of betting because that's what we do there too.
Yeah, man, it's going to be exciting. What a weekend, man. Game after game after game after game, they did not let us down.
Yeah, and we'll start off in the AFC there with the Bengals and the Titans. Another interesting game. You'd think going in, I know we spoke a lot about it last week. You'd think that, going into that game, the Titans, a little more battle-hardened playoff team, getting Derrick Henry back. Foreman's really emerged. Tannehill, probably a little more seasoned than Burrow. And, the Bengals end up pulling that one out, and it kind of probably had to come as a shock to a lot of people going into Tennessee and winning that game. People were wondering if Burrow would get one win. Now he has two.
Yeah, it was amazing. Tannehill, I mean, you said it, Tannehill was Tannehill. He turned the ball over. The Bengals were poised. They stuck to the game plan. Burrow didn't try to do too much. And, Jamar Chase, again, just showing up.
It's really, when you watch Jamar Chase play, he's truly probably the best athlete on the field in most of these games. He's making some big plays. He's running great routes, and it's really been impressive. That frame they have, that man against boys, he almost kind of looks like that at times. Mm-hmm. And going back to Tannehill, when you watch his play, the Mike Hilton interception was a great play by Mike Hilton, but definitely too many turnovers. We have 4th and 1, and he pulls the ball out and tries to run, takes it off of Derrick Henry. Some questionable decisions. I imagine that was his determination and it wasn't pre-called. So yeah, very questionable. The Bengals, they go and they pull it off. They've won 2. There's always seems to be a team like that. I just don't think anybody really expected that.
No, not at all. It's like they're early. I said that last week. I thought they're a year early. But, they surprised me. Joe Burrow he's amazing for how young he is. He's actually old for his class. Mm-hmm. He went through the transfer, missed a year. But for how young he is in the league, I mean, he really showed up. They mix in well, the tight end. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, they use their weapons well, and that defense doesn't get enough credit either.
Yeah, I think going back to the offensive part of that too, some interesting things. I think they did mix in. They really threw a lot. They were really pass heavy. Got sacked 9 times, didn't turn the ball over. I mean, that's remarkable. When guys are getting hit that much, usually that leads to a fumble or a pick. Didn't do it. Kept getting back up. Can't question the kid's toughness. I know we were talking a little bit about the interesting story with McPherson. The kicker comes and says, "Hey, don't worry, we're going to the AFC Championship game," before he kicks the kick, which was pretty neat. But I just wonder, going into this next game, you're going to be playing the Chiefs. You probably need more Mixon. You're seeing less Mixon. Definitely threw the ball well. Azuma's definitely played well and made some plays. But, yeah, I definitely think they need to be a little more run heavy, a little more balanced. You're not going to get much out of Burrow in that category. You can run enough to be dangerous, but I think you're going to need more Mixon next week.
Yeah, definitely, especially with Honey Badger being hurt. I'm not sure if he's going to play or not. I think the run-first mentality leading to the play action to chase down the field or Higgins down the field is going to be key to them to having any opportunity to even stick with the Chiefs.
And you saw in that Bills game without the Honey Badger on the field, it really caused them some problems in coverage. He's not a guy you can replace, and he also can sneak in and out of the box. You're probably going to end up with a guy who's just going to stay there and too high and still be vulnerable at times against a really good receiving core. I mean, when a guy like Tyler Boyd isn't your number one anymore, right, it's pretty scary. And then Higgins. I mean, maybe you have 3 number ones there. Pretty interesting there. Okay, well, we'll move on to the crazy game. The Chiefs-Bills, I think forever people with the number 13 and the 13 seconds is going to probably live on in infamy. Of course, we have that game that's won in overtime by the Chiefs, and everyone is talking about these overtime rules. And I just want to go on record and say, I'm of the adage, the rules are the rules. You got to play defense. Defense wins championships. First of all, that's my first point. Then we'll talk about the 13 seconds before we even cover this game. You had the 13 seconds, so your defense there and then in overtime really cost you. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is outstanding. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, another guy who's I don't know if I want to say a man with boys from a physical standpoint, but he's just faster than everybody else. When you're faster than really fast people, really interesting. Kelsey is just on a whole other level as well too. But 13 seconds, you're rushing 4 guys. You're not able to stop them from getting that chance to get to overtime. Hard to swallow that.
Yeah, and that's why I love talking football with you, because you give me the coach's perspective. I would have never noticed that if they actually only rush 3, maybe they're able to stop that. And I wouldn't have seen that just as a fan or a Madden player. But Tyreek Hill, so smart, catches the ball straight line. You see a lot of these guys, they'll catch the ball, they're trying to juke, they're trying to do this, do that. So he catches the ball straight line down. Very smart play. And then to hit Kelsey as well. It's crazy how much happened in such little time. And in the last 2 minutes, 25 points were scored.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So you watched a lot of football this weekend, last weekend. You've seen some teams like the Chiefs that are really good at situational football, and you've seen some teams that are really bad at situational football. It's kind of, the interesting about that is you try as a coach to prepare your kids, your grown-ups, your adults, whoever you happen to coach, for situations. Covering all the situations is exhausting. Something will always come up. You'll focus on one thing. You may be especially with high school kids, you may be struggling in the red zones. You can spend extra time on that. And then you have a scramble situation where you have to scramble down there, and there's something you always haven't worked on. When you get to the college level, they try to do the same thing as well too, but they have limits by the NCAA of how long they can practice. The pros don't really have a lot of those limits. They have their guys more. There is different rules now because of the concussions, but they seem to be able to do this. But still, some coaches do it better than others, and it's really impressive. How sharp they were. Not only do they make those plays, not only is Kelsey open, but he gets down right on time. You see the linemen are all running like this.
Yeah.
They're all conditioned, and you see some other teams that were really bad. Look at the Cowboys. I mean, they couldn't. They got 2 plays off in a time that the Cowboys got 1 run game on. But, of course, the Bengals had timeouts, which is different. The Chiefs had timeouts, which changes everything. But, again, with that rush thing, I understand wanting to pressure him, not let him sit back there and just chuck it up. So they want to put a little pressure on him. The problem with that is that leaves one more guy not in that whole curl zone, which is right where Kelsey went. When they came out, he said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get to the open area. You could tell it was supposed to be an out because even Mahomes double hitched, and he got him in that hole. They got down and got the kickoff. So, 13 seconds. What a shame for a guy like Josh Allen, who was outstanding.
Yeah, amazing. Definitely a great duel. I look forward to this rivalry moving forward. I think they're both great quarterbacks. It came down to who was going to have the ball last. Just an amazing game. I'm so glad that I watched it from start to finish. It definitely didn't let me down at all. Just a lot of great plays from players that maybe you didn't expect either for the Bills. Diggs had an okay game, but a guy like Gabriel Davis, man, just went off.
Yeah, 4 TDs, 200 yards. First person in the Super Bowl era to do that in a playoff game. Really impressive. And I look at this too. It's a shame that it's over. You want more of Josh Allen. I think that's what people wanted as much in overtime. They could see if he had a chance. The guy was pretty much unstoppable. The courage of the Buffalo Bills is super impressive. Going on 4th down, the route to Davis where he fakes the out and it looks like he's going to try to get the first down. They throw the touchdown. They're just a fearless team, and it all goes with their leader. And he's not wrapped too tight. You can kind of see him. Like I say that with all due respect, like he's just out there rocking and rolling, ready to go. I will say, I'm going to enjoy every second of the Bills losing. Not that I was rooting against them, but my man Deshaun Sharp tortured me last year for an entire year after the Bills beat the Steelers. Every item of food my family or friends ordered from the restaurant. Tulloon's living the dream, by the way. A little shameless plug there. Everything that came from the restaurant, it was, go Bills. So I'd seen enough of it. So he gave me, we had a bet this year, and the bet was, I want to bet the the Bills versus the field. You were there when he talked about it. So he gave me the entire NFL versus the Bills. If the Bills won a Super Bowl, I owed him $200. If the Bills lost at any point in the playoffs, he has to cook me a meal. Yes, and I'm going to make him serve that. He has to have the little napkin over his thing, so I'm going to look forward to that. And again, if he didn't rub it in on me so hard, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. But it's been a rough year for him. The Steelers beat the Bills early in the season, and then we have the meal he's going to have to serve. So we will definitely have some footage of that. Yes. We're going to have Mr. Miller there live, filming that thing. It'll definitely be an episode, some content of my maitre d', Mr. Deshaun Sharp, so we want to enjoy every second of that. But coming out of that, Josh Allen emerging the game before Burrow. These guys are collectible for a long time. I would imagine Allen, this is going to kind of carry him into the offseason as a guy you're looking real interesting to see of all four of these teams, who comes back, who doesn't. A lot of uncertainty going into next season, with who's going to be there or not.
Yeah. My first question when I came in on Monday to you was, do you think Tannehill's the guy in Tennessee? That's tough for me. He does what they need him to do most of the time. Be a game manager. Don't do too much. The running game is their focus. He's affordable. He's under contract. You're not going to be able to trade a guy like that. So, like you said, I do think that he is their quarterback. In the other game, Josh Allen, I don't know what you need to add there. Probably maybe a few big defensive pieces. I mean, I think they showed there at the end that they couldn't stop him. Because I don't think offense is good. 2 years in a row they lost in Kansas City by trying to shoot it out with them. It's not going to work. If they're going to get past KC, they got to figure out a way to stop them.
Yeah, I mean, 2 All-Pros at safety, so you're pretty solid there. Usually, I think it's got to be in the front end there. Got to be able to pressure the quarterback maybe a little bit more, which will help with those guys back there, those ball hawks and those hitters, and they're interchangeable. They can come down in the box. So I think that the Bills are close. Going back to the Titans, with the way that Vrabel likes to play, he almost needs a game manager. Really, what he needed was Tannehill not to turn it over.
Yeah.
So I think he can handle that. And again, it always comes down to money, whether you can upgrade or not. And you have a lot of money invested in Henry, so they're going to keep him. The offensive line, I think they'll keep chugging along with him. I'd be shocked if they did anything. Real interesting to see how the cap plays out. That being said, and enough babbling over the Bills and my friend Deshaun, and we'll kind of kick over to the NFC. And I want to start with, I almost want to say, this boring Packers-49ers game as far as they all went. I mean, I know it was weather. We had the 13 to 25 mile an hour winds, and it's hard to tell in the weather. The Packers didn't seem like they were emotionally invested. The Niners are very physical. My takeaways from the game, how in it were they? And then also, sure, the Niners won, but they seemed pretty banged up at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's going to be tough moving forward for them because no matter what, they're not going to be 100% healthy. It wasn't very interesting. We kind of knew going in with the weather and stuff that it was going to change the face of the game. It wasn't going to be a shootout. But, yeah, it felt like, I don't know, it did feel like the Packers weren't all in.
It was like they were never in it, you know? They weren't making those normal plays. You could say, okay, Aaron, go ahead and do this. Okay, we're waiting for you to do it.
Right.
And they did enough, but it ended up not being enough. You know what I mean? And again, it's when it's that cold and then you have the snow mixed in with that, it wasn't a good night. And, if that's his last game as a Packer or his last game period, maybe we were cheated a little bit. If he wants to wear that black and gold next year, we're okay with that. I don't know if Pittsburgh offers enough excitement for a guy. I know people are gonna say, well, wait a minute, he's in Green Bay right now. We get that, but I think his next stop is going to be more along the lines of his second career. He seems to be planning like that for a while. But it's Guy McAfee is a Pittsburgh guy, so maybe for a year that works out. Who knows?
I think all the tables, or like everything on the table, leads up to him leaving. But with Aaron Rodgers, he never ceases to amaze me. So I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to come back. The main thing in the offseason every year is like they got to get him more. They got to get him more. This year, I think that they had enough. They just got injured. Bakhtiari being out hurt. The guard was out. But. I don't know. I don't know if that's his spot. And then you have Jordan Love waiting in the wind. So it might end up being on the GMs too, the GM's decision on if they want to move on or not. I don't think they'll come out in the public and say, Jordan Love's our guy until Aaron decides to leave. Then the 49ers, I mean, they did just enough. The special teams plays were just, not playoff football. That was a good playoff game, I guess. It's just with the other ones that we got to watch, it kind of just.
It's more like the Packers lost it, Right. And looking at these games and the game we'll get to next, the Bucs game, and you look at the Chiefs last year. O-line depth is huge.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing about it is there's only so many of these special giant men who can move. So you look at there's 32 teams in the league. You have 150, 160 of those. How many do you have on your bench that aren't playing? And how many are in street clothes when somebody gets hurt? Not many. Right. And the drop off is huge. And when you're able to get all that stuff going, then you're better. You know what I mean? So like you have to be able to have that depth and the team who, it's more like attrition. So last year the Bucs were, unnecessarily healthy, uncanny healthy, we said last time. And it looks like it's going that way a little bit. Originally for the Niners. I mean, now they're banged up. I think it'll be a play. Coming away from that, from a collectability standpoint, Garoppolo very underwhelming. Yeah. Trey Lance not getting a shot. I was kind of hoping he would maybe be a shot to him. Deebo Samuel is just a freak. He does it all. I think from a collectible standpoint, I don't know how hot he gets because it's going to limit his numbers playing both places. Maybe Elijah Mitchell. Because he's been pretty stuff, but really things are cool on him.
Yeah. For me personally, like I don't see how you don't have a package. Because if I was playing Madden with the Niners, that's what I'm doing. I'm putting Lance at quarterback. I got Mitchell on one side. I got Samuel on the other side. And I'm running that. I'm at least making the defense guess. You invested a lot in Trey Lance, so I want to see him throw the ball a little bit too. And playoff experience, you can't buy that.
Yeah, the other thing that's hard about that is, when do you do that? And I think that's the thing when they say the old adage is if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. But I think it's tough to figure out when to do that. When do you put them in there? Do you do it in short yardage? What if you go out and you're having success? Do you change your game plan? I think it's a little bit. I wish it too, and I want to see it. But I understand the thing is like we're just going to roll with what we're doing because this is who we are. And Jimmy, don't make too many mistakes. We're going to pound the ball and we're going to try to win ugly. So, going forward, what is Rodgers' future? We don't know. Where's he going to end up? Where's he going to land? From a collectible standpoint, his landing place could mean a lot. I don't think there's anywhere of the places he wants to go that he could land that won't be exciting. I think right now, if you're going to pick the leaders out of the clubhouse, I think you have to say the Broncos and the Steelers.
Yeah.
Does that mean that he's going to go to either one of those places? No. Is he even going to play next year? Who knows? Could he be a Packer? Absolutely. So you just don't know.
Right. I definitely – what's crazy in the offseason, you'll see there's a drop-off for different to different levels. If somebody loses, like Kyler Murray's drop-off has immediately happened and it will continue to drop off. No matter, only one quarterback wins, so the rest of them will have a drop-off. I think Aaron Rodgers this year, with those question marks, you're going to see like an up and down in the market. I think it's a great investment because he's a Hall of Famer. I'd try to find the bottom on him on maybe one of his rookie cards in a PSA 9 and hang on to it. And if he goes somewhere big and does something, you can turn that around real quick. If not, in 5 years when he makes the Hall of Fame, you're at least going to double your money.
Yeah, it almost comes down with collecting. What's starting to worry me a little bit, it's like, what have you done for me lately? When you're willing to pay, top dollar for, Shane Buechele silver and $40 for a Joe Montana rookie, you better find the right window. It's basically, Joe Montana's stamped, he's done, nothing's going to happen. You better find that right window because as these guys go, the Marinos have dropped, the Elways when they get out of sight, what I mean? They drop. The Drew Breeses, they become less and less appreciated. So, man, you got to hit your windows right. I think that's what it is. And when someone's hot, sell them. And when they're cold, hold on to them. And, and that's when you want to buy. You don't want to buy at the top, but thank goodness for people to do buy at the top because that helps us do what we do.
Right. Yeah. It's fun. And if you're strategic with it, it can be very profitable. Quarterbacks. And while they're winning, to lead into the next game, Matt Stafford's winning. A year ago, his card market was gone. Right now, it's up. But what's amazing is Cooper Kupp's market is higher than Matthew Stafford.
Yes. And he's the more visible player. He's really dominated. He won the Triple Crown of receiving. And you look at that game, the Rams, the Bucs aren't even in it. You see what happens. They again, we talked about this last week, I believe, either on the air or together while we were preparing. These elite rushers, these elite edge rushers and interior rushers, what a difference they make. You look back to those Patriots years when they lost to the Giants. What did the Giants have? The 4-man elite rushers. Didn't have to blitz a lot of guys. Always were roughing up Tom Brady. That's the kind of, if there is a key to getting him, I believe that it's blitzing him and getting in his face, bloodying his lip, things like that, making him uncomfortable. Gronk looked slow, and again, but you lose a Godwin, you lose a AB, you lose guys like that. Scotty Miller looked solid, and they still were pretty formidable. And then the Rams make mistakes. Akers has the multiple fumbles. Cooper Kupp puts it on the ground, which is a rarity. And what does Tom Brady do? He does Tom Brady things, takes him down, and ties the game up.
Yeah, it was crazy. Going into halftime, if the Rams punch that in, is it over? That's what they're saying. And then, boom, what do you know? Just before he touches the ground, Akers gives it up. They come out in the second half. It's like a completely different
Inches
game.
before he touches the ground.
Right, yeah, like very close. They had to review it. And in the second half, they come out, it's like a different game. The defense switched up a little bit, it felt like. Evans started to get on track a little bit more. He had a few drops and just a few bad routes. He slipped a few times. They just started to get more into the groove. And as you know, I would never bet against Tom Brady no matter how far they're down because he just seems to be able to figure it out. But the end of the game was amazing.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, too, about Tom is, and maybe it was the flexor surgery for flexor injury surgery for Ben. Excuse me, it's a tongue tire. But that his arm power. Tom Brady throws that fade to Evans top shoulder. Yeah. Not an easy throw over Jalen Ramsey. I mean, the guy just keeps getting better and better. It's one of those things that, like, my goodness, what's the guy going to do next? He tied up so easily, and you almost see it going downhill, and then this will be something that's kind of near and dear to your heart, or maybe not dear, maybe hard for you, because Todd Bowles was your involved with your team in Arizona, so you understand what he likes to do, and you spotted this way before I did. You're into that last run, and they're trying to get a field goal, and Cooper Kupp gets open. There's pressure. Sue's right in Stafford's face. He throws a lollipop dime to him, and the safety gets beat, and right away you saw that guy coming off the edge. You said Todd Bowles likes to do that, and that really put that safety in a tough position.
Yeah, I didn't, like I said, I'm not a coach, so I asked your opinion right from the beginning. Like, I didn't understand why Bowles would blitz off of Cooper Kupp when he's in the slot. I've seen him do it a lot in Arizona, and I've seen it blow up in his face a lot. It's something that he likes to do. He used to do it with the Honey Badger a lot. He would line the Honey Badger up one-on-one with the guy in the slot and then blitz right off of him. I don't know if they were prepared for that, and that's why they called that play. But the safety has to know that instantly. Winfield has to know that. He got to back up a little bit. He literally stayed at his 10-yard mark, tried to get his hands on Kupp. Kupp blew right past him, and he was never able to catch back up.
Yeah, which Kupp is really good. He's twitchy. He's hard to get his hands on. He doesn't present a wide target, so he's tough to get his hands on. He's slippery, and the throw doesn't get enough credit because Stafford was going back for it. He had a lollipop, but because of the way he was getting hit, and he drops that dime in there, and then that's the end of the Bucs and maybe the end of Tom Brady, which is really interesting. I've never seen him like that after a game. Pretty despondent. Everyone said, he's going to play. I'm not so sure. I think the family finally has gotten to the point where, he's realizing he's missing out on things. His parents are still here. They've had some health issues. He has kids, and it's like, man, I'm going to keep doing this. What do the Bucs look like next year? What's going to happen? I can keep doing this physically. I had an outstanding year to walk away from. Sure, we didn't win the Super Bowl. I proved I can win it. But, do I want to pay that price anymore?
Right, yeah, because next year the Bucs could look completely different. They got to reevaluate Gronk. Are they going to pay him? And as you said, throughout the season, it just seemed like he just got slower and slower. He found ways to make catches and get yards, but just not for what they're paying him. Yeah. They owe a lot of people money. Godwin's probably going to walk, even though that he was injured, unless he decides to come back maybe on a one-year deal, kind of what Juju did to try to prove himself again. I don't know. Like you said, I never seen him be like that afterwards. And in the media, his wife had already been saying that she wanted him to be done, and he set this target of 45, and everybody's holding on to that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he walks away. I think they already lost Leftwich. Leftwich, their offensive coordinator, is leaving, so now he has to learn it. He has to get into a new system. Does Arians call the plays? It was tough for me to watch them because, again, their whole coaching staff was our coaching staff.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We don't see the preparation. We don't see the time away from the family. We watch the games on Sundays. We expect a certain amount of things. Tom Brady's an all-in guy. I'm sure he's there 4 or 5 in the morning, and he's there till wee hours of the night, and it takes a toll on you. And that's the thing. The physical gifts haven't left him, but do you want to keep paying that price? We keep getting back to that. if we've seen the last of Tom Brady, it's been a great run. I appreciate his excellence. I don't always appreciate the results that he had against my squads,
Right.
but I appreciate his excellence. I'm maybe one of the few people in Western Pennsylvania that doesn't hate Tom Brady. But he's just fantastic, and we wish him all the best from us if it's the end. And thank you for making my childhood so nice. I go back and always think about things. So my son's only had one quarterback. He's 17 years old for the Steelers, and Brady was a rookie in 2000. That's when my daughter was born.
Wow.
So she's only known Tom Brady. So it's crazy when you look at that, when you have a 22 and a 17-year-old and how that works. That just speaks to their continuity, their blessings for being able to stay healthy, their gifts, and the way they've been handled. So who knows? One thing I will say is that, before we get to these playoff games, these championship games, is the whole landscape of the NFL. I mean, if you have no Tom Brady, no Aaron Rodgers, these guys moving around and these pieces, Juju Smith leaves the Steelers, Roethlisberger leaves the Steelers, major change for the NFL.
Yeah.
Different guys in different places. It's going to be really interesting. Now it's the Mahomes and the Burrows and the Herberts and the Allens. These are the guys stepping up. The old guard could all go. The three old guard could all go at one time. It's going to be major change for NFL, and I think things will be quality. But going into these games, we got Chiefs-Bengals at the Chiefs. What do you think?
I really like to see Joe Burrow win, but I think the Chiefs are ready. There are too many weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this though, the Bengals defense is quite good. Sam Hubbard, Hendrickson, they get after the quarterback. It shows if you're able to get Mahomes a little bit out of his rhythm, maybe they can stay in the game. They definitely can't turn the ball over. But in my opinion, I think the Chiefs win, and most people would say that, but I would not be surprised if it's a good game.
I would. I think Houday has reached their max. I've watched Mike Hilton. He's a great player, a great impact player. He's not going to be able to stay with Tyreek Hill. They're going to try to put him on him. They're going to give Mahomes too much time. They're not going to be able to pressure him. They didn't do a great job of pressuring last week. I mean, it wasn't overwhelmingly obvious. I mean, you couldn't say who was the guy who pressured last week. I mean, if I asked you that question, who would you say?
Yeah, I couldn't pick just one.
Yeah, but you looked at, now you go to the Chiefs, and Houston has really stepped up. We gotta let him go in Pittsburgh. He really did a great job. Frank Clark, those guys kind of stood out. I think they're going to pressure Bro. Again, if you're not going to get away with getting sacked that many times from a health standpoint, let alone being able to go through another game getting sacked that many times and not turning the ball over. The Honey Badger thing, hopefully he's healthy. That can be an issue. Do they match up well with Chase? But the bottom line is, I think that the Chiefs have proven that they can win these shootouts. I think you're looking at a 35-21 game. I don't think Mahomes is going to be denied. Having our Clyde Edwards-Helaire back last week really added a thing. Didn't even need McKinnon as much. We spent a lot of time talking about him. I think the Chiefs are going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah, and it seems like every week you just don't know. There's going to be somebody on the Chiefs that does something that we didn't expect. I know one guy that you like, though, Byron Pringle.
Bing bong.
Oh, man. This guy either gets first downs or touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's amazing how they're able to just use him in and out. Mecole Hardman steps up.
Yeah, the Steelers seen enough of Byron Pringle. I know that much. Yeah, and then you have that threat, too. They have speed for days. I think the tight end's been playing well. Their packages are solid. They're doing a lot of stuff outside the box. I think the Bengals have reached their ceiling. They got the Chiefs -7. I think it's a pretty safe bet. I like them by 2 scores.
Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on that number. I would say right now I like the Chiefs by 7, but it's a little suspect number. I'd like to see how much it moves and how much money is put on Kansas City before I would lock into that. I'd lean more toward the prop bets. I definitely think Kelsey scores. I think that's a guarantee. You're not going to get great odds on that. And I also think that one of the secondary receivers for the Bengals is going to go over their receiving yards, because they're going to go towards Chase. They're going to try to take Chase away. So either T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd, I keep an eye on them.
So, as great as last week's playoffs were, I think this week's going to be terrible. I think the Rams are going to handle the Niners. I know the Niners are 2-0 against the Rams. I get that. I think the Rams are way healthier. They're playing way better. They've changed it up the second time they played them. I think they won't be denied. I think they're going to torture Garoppolo. I think he'll be seeing ghosts. Like Sam Darnold. I think because Aaron Donald is playing another level. Remember, previously in the playoffs he was banged up. He had the chest injury. I mean, he's at a whole other level. They have the guys coming off the edge. I mean, you add Von Miller to that and Floyd. They're all kind of nasty. They're healthy. they're clicking on offense. Of course, you lose a guy like Robert Woods, and OBJ's playing outside of his head.
Yeah.
Cup fumbles, which is rare, but then makes the huge play. Higbee's tough to cover. Akers, I think Henderson's getting healthy now if they need him. They're going to be really tough out. I think that they win pretty handily over the Niners as well too, and I think you don't have as great a championship weekend as you had last week.
Yeah. When I think about the Niners beat on twice, I always go back to the years when the Steelers and Ravens had to play 3 times. It's really hard to beat a team 3 times, no matter what. It's division rival and the coaching of it. You can go back and forth. The Rams are just a better team overall. You named every player. They're good everywhere. What are you gonna stop? Anytime that you double on ODB, you're going Higbee middle, or you're running it down their throat. Akers, Michelle. As long as Stafford stays within himself, and Stafford looks like the number 1 pick that he was.
Yeah.
He looks really, really good. I think that they will beat the Niners.
Comfortable is the word, I think.
Yes.
Not trying to do too much.
No. Yes. Just staying within himself, and he's hungry. He has that thing, that moxie that I'm sure that he had in Georgia when he first got drafted as the number 1 pick. They're all around a great team. Van Jefferson, as I said last week, over on the receiving yards, I was right on that. Just pops in just out of nowhere. So you think you got him stopped, and then they just dump it right over the top. The defense of the Niners, they're dogs. I don't think they're going to run away with this, but I just don't think Jimmy Garoppolo can do enough.
Yeah, I think this is one of those games in the cold and the physical. I think the Niners are beat up. I think you'll see that this week. And I think the Rams run away with it. I really do. And the interesting thing about McVay is, they were high octane with Goff. Everything was great. It seemed like last year that maybe people had him figured out. I think it was more, because you see him now, obviously, either he reinvented himself or Stafford plugged into his system is great.
Right.
Because for a while there, they were so predictable last year. They were struggling. Now they look like edgy, and they're one step ahead. You know what I mean? So he was good the whole time. He knew he got as much out of Goff as he could. The league had kind of figured him out. You need a guy like Stafford, tough, quick enough to get away, good decisions, very accurate. He was very accurate last week. I think they're too much for the Niners. I'll be shocked. I mean, I don't think you're going to get Debo and these guys running downhill against that Rams defense. And if Garoppolo has to win it, I don't think he's prepared. Definitely think he's going to probably play his last game in a Niners uniform, and you'll see the Trey Lance experiment going. Again, the old guard's out, the young guard is in, and who knows where Garoppolo lands. But it'll be interesting regard. I just don't think you're going to see any good games this week.
Yeah, you hope for it, playoff football. But after the last week being so great, you're going to have some of a letdown. Maybe one of the games is better than the other. What's crazy is you even seen that same thing happen this season. I personally was a little bit watching a little bit closer, but when we played them the second time, it's like they found themselves again, because they were actually not playing really well. They were kind of getting outside of themselves. Akers going down hurt, and it seemed like they couldn't really find a running game, which then took them out of being able to do play action. Higbee wasn't really doing much. When they put it on us on Monday night, and it was like they clicked, and they just been climbing the hill ever since. They're really, really tough. What's crazy is no team has won their Super Bowl in their home stadium until last year, and now this year we got a chance at it 2 years in a row because the Super Bowl's in LA.
Yeah, it'll be tough to deny those Chiefs. And barring an injury, if they stay healthy, they're going to be a tough out. And it's crazy because they struggled.
Right.
They said Mahomes struggled. His stats don't look that way.
Right.
But they found their stride too. And it's not important to be playing well early. It's important to be playing well late, as both of these teams proved that. So we'll see. Those are our picks. And last, I want to touch on a couple things. First of all, Sean Payton, long career. I didn't realize till I heard that today that the people in New Orleans call him our Sean Payton. There may be no love affair between coach and fans like there is in New Orleans, maybe because of some of the tragedy and the kind of man he is. But he'll definitely be missed in New Orleans.
Yeah, definitely. There's the rumors on the internet he's going to go on Fox for a year, and then he's going to go take the Cowboys job. And I'd say I would hope not. But I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility. BA did that with us. He retired when we were about done. He retired, took a year off, had opportunity to go to Tampa Bay, bring in Tom Brady.
You are the scorned fan.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. He left, got a Super Bowl somewhere else. I'm happy for him, but kind of not happy for him. Great guy though. Bruce Arians, great coach. Sean Payton, great coach.
Bruce Arians, a lot to do with Ben Roethlisberger's development, which led to the San Antonio Holmes toe tap touchdown. So,
That's weird because we have a McFarland at the shop. I'll make sure to bring it next week. Where Holmes' 1 foot is not touching the ground. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But Bruce
somehow that McFarland was created as a replica of the Super Bowl end zone in your mind. It makes you feel better. But Bruce, Bruce had a lot to do with that play, and we can't go an episode without talking about that play.
No, it's
or a day at the shop.
It's a tragedy. Yeah, I come in today, just trying to help my buddy out at the shop. What do I see? 2 Santonio Holmes jersey cards on the desk that I use. It's just, who needs enemies with friends like this? You know what I mean?
Nothing but the best for my man Dickie Dietz.
But
he gets it all.
Bruce Arians was passed over for so long. Great offensive coordinator for you guys. Goes into Indianapolis. The coach gets sick, gets an opportunity. Then he gets an opportunity with the Cardinals. Almost makes it with Carson Palmer. Then checks out, takes a year off, or either a year or 2, then comes back to Tampa Bay, wins a Super Bowl. I do think that if Brady leaves, Arians will retire. I think Todd Bowles gets opportunity as a head coach, at least interview-wise. They lost Leftwich, so Tampa Bay is going to be a completely different team. I don't know who's going to coach New Orleans, but I feel bad for them. When I looked over the numbers, they got a lot of dead cap space. You got a lot of money invested in Michael Thomas, who hasn't played in over a year and a half. You have $40 million in a quarterback that's like gadgety, so you'd have to fit the system for that money to work. It's going to be a tough job there.
Yeah, a different landscape we'll see next year at the quarterback position. A lot of different coaches. Leftwich gets hired with the Jaguars. That's exciting to see. It's going to be really interesting. New league forming this spring, the XFL. We'll talk about that. A little He Hate Me coming back. I think The Rock's involved in that, so it should be entertaining. We'll have lots to talk about. And like I said, it's not going to be football. Football's where we're at right now. I think next week in between, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the baseball lockout stuff. We'll talk a little bit about basketball and a little bit about soccer. My man likes some soccer, and we'll just try to keep things fresh and just keep coming out and talking to you guys. We're really appreciative for all the people that viewed last week. Thank you so much. We love doing this. We just want to get on the air. Main Street 814, we want to thank our hapless director back there, Josh Miller. He's barely functionable and barely good enough to do what he does. Just kidding. He's actually a genius, but we don't want to tell him that. But we thank him for what he's doing, and we thank you for just giving us a chance. You're going to see a lot of us, not because we think we need to be seen all the time. We just love talking, and we figured, hey, if we're going to talk, why not share it?
Yeah, that's what it's about, man. We do this in the office all the time, so we're just getting out to you guys. Appreciate all the comments, all the shares. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it if you can. Hit the bell, that way you get notifications when we put new stuff up. As the coach mentioned last week, we're going to be doing a lot of different things to do with investing, cards, also, other sports. Like he said, I'm wearing a Bucks jersey. Basketball season's about to get in full effect. Baseball is right around the corner. We'll always be bringing you something new, and we really appreciate you tuning in.
And some guests, too.
Yes.
Rest in peace, Meatloaf. But to quote Meatloaf, we're going to keep rocking.
Yeah, we are. A lot of great stuff coming up on the channel.
So, hey, for the collector, I'm the coach. And for the engineer back there, Josh Miller, 1 finger short of 10.
See you next week.
Deez Sports Nutz out.